Welcome to Studio Synergy 11. We had some problems getting this bad boy started, but we are finally here. And we have a group of people, so let me say hello to everyone. First up, we have a newcomer, Gary. Hey, Gary.
Hey, I don't know if my mic's working.
I can hear you.
Okay, good. Well, I kind of threw stuff together. I think all of this will work together. So, find a pair of headphones with a built-in mic, and I think I'm good.
Yes.
I'm Jefferson City, Missouri is where I'm located. I do graphic design full-time, and then aspire to be a comic book artist all the rest of the time. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming, man.
Yeah, every time there's an event, I'm like, oh, that'd be cool. Oh, I've got something going on. So, and then today was like, nothing's happening. I'm gonna check this stuff out and see what's going on.
Awesome. And we have John. Hey, John.
Heyo, I'm John Grzeski. I'm known on the internets as Zomberai. I do a webcomic called Everyday Abnormal. That's everydayabnormal.thecomicseries.com. And I have a Patreon. So, give me money. That would be awesome.
Cool.
That's actually the support bonus. If you give me money on Patreon, I tell you you're awesome.
What an honor.
Yes.
And we have Kristen. Hey.
Hello once again. I am actually working on my portfolio for colleges right now, which is pretty cool. I'm working on a zine, and you can find me at iswallowedaflycomic.blogspot.com, and also Art of Kristen Middleton on Facebook. So check that out, and hopefully you'll be happy that you did.
Awesome to have you. Haven't seen you in a little bit. I know you're working hard. And we have Wilson.
Hello, and I'm glad to be back. I'm Wilson Ramos. I am a professional comic book artist who's done everything from penciling, inking, coloring, editing, assistant editing. If it's in a comic book, I've done it. Been in the industry for little years, and started off at Marvel, and was there for like 10 years. Left, started my own publishing company, so the8spot.com, and we publish webcomics, traditional comic books, digital comic books, T-shirts, cups. You ask us to make it, we'll make it. So this is a website I run with my buddy Eric Rivera. Together we've made about 7 different titles, and we're always adding more stuff. And at the moment, we're doing an Indiegogo campaign for one of our books, Gaidojin, which I think will be the best-looking book we have in our stable. I'm even saying that above my own personal comic book, Team Kaiju. So I'm obviously saying something real if I'm going to put my own book down at least one level. So we're basically doing that and getting ready for the New York Comic Con, which is right around the corner.
That's right.
So we'll be at booth 2339, and that's basically what's been going on with me.
Cool. I tried to get Eric to come on, but he's a busy guy. So
yeah, again, because we're so close to cons, we're just rushing to get so many things done and out. And being that I'm a freelancer who also work for other companies, I'm trying to get a bunch of stuff out for them as well. So the last 2 weeks before a con is always the busiest because everyone either everyone kind of decides that, oh, I got a great idea, and we might be able to get it right out of the con. Let's call up all our freelancers and get them to rush, and it's like, it gets insane. So I'm looking forward to next week because by then, it is just too late to print anything out.
It will be what it will be.
Exactly.
You just got to show up. Yep, I hear that. Well, yeah, I sort of thought, well, let's try a topic for the hangout and see where that goes. So we had a little technical difficulties, but the topic is crowdfunding, and that's Kickstarter, Indiegogo, Patreon.
think there's one
There's
called
other things like
GoFundMe.
there's other things like what is it, Gumroad, which is different, I guess, but not necessarily crowdfunding, but it's like ways to make money are also growing there. um, so Wilson, I mean, since you got Indiegogo, when's it end?
It ends in about 7 days, I believe. Matter of
Seven
fact,
days?
7 days left to go, and we're only
And,
22% of to our goal. But as scary as that is, because we didn't make it yet, what I do know is that from other crowdfundings that I've dealt with and people that I talk to, the last few days are usually when everyone shows up and starts making their bids, or they start contributing at that point. So the good thing about it is that no matter what, if we don't make the goal, we're going to still publish this book. The artwork's is almost already done. At this point, we just need to color it. But the penciling's done, the lettering is done. Again, this is one of those projects that we've been working on for a while, and we just need really the money is really for um, finishing off this particular book at a timely basis. So that's basically it. If we don't make the money, that's fine. We made enough that we could pay one of our artists, and the other artist, the colorist, knows that he will get paid because we've used him before. It's Tom Chu, which is a fellow that you know.
right.
And so we're basically working on trying to make sure that the book is going to look phenomenal. So the only thing this campaign will help us do is just get it done quicker.
Right. Can you scroll down and show the people some of that art?
Definitely will.
Because it does look amazing. It's a really good looking book.
Here's the cover by our buddy Nadir Balin. He actually is a great story with him. He interned for me over at Marvel years ago, and he was one of those guys that I always kept in touch with. And his artwork from the past, completely night and day compared to this. He went off and went ahead and really honed his art skills. Basically, here's a couple of the books that we've published before, so we have published. But then here are some of the pages that we have. So I kept in touch with him, and he's been jumping around to different indie companies. And as he's been working, he's always kept in touch with me. And then one day we had a script, and Eric's brother, Mark Rivera, had written out this great story, and between the two of them, they were able to put together a phenomenal, not only story, but just something really cool. Because what we wanted to do is get back to comic books that we would want to read. Have fun with it. So that's why this particular book, once we got Nadir on board, his first few pages that he sent us blew us away. But then when he started inking the pages himself, he started doing backgrounds. After he turned in, I would say, the first 12 pages, he went back and redid some of them because of the time period of the first page and the time period to the last half of the book. His art completely changed because he was developing this style, and I think he's now even drawing directly on the computer. So we think it's great. And
let's do a little experiment. We have the chat in the hangout. If you could put the link in the chat. And for anybody that doesn't know, you go to the left, put your cursor on the left of this hangout screen, and the first box, blue box, word balloon, you click on that, and the chat opens on the right. And you can click on the Indiegogo campaign, and that will take you to the page. Eventually, on my computer.
Possibly, in theory.
Here we go. So yeah, I saw the artwork. It's really beautiful. And if I wasn't so broke,
I'm in the same boat. I mean, I don't have a part-time job anymore. I quit mine. So if I had money, I would give you guys all my monies. I'm just saying.
Well, thank you. But we also found that if just share it with all your friends and all the different social networks, you know, the more people, the more eyes that are on it. I feel that that's what I've done. So many Kickstarter so many of my friends are doing these types of campaigns, and I've been only able to contribute to a handful of them because there's just no way I could contribute to all of them. These campaigns have been amazing for artists. I've been a part of a few of them where, as a freelancer, I got my money from it. They were able to do the campaign, be able to hire me to be, and it's a great tool. I remember when this type of crowdfunding first popped up, a lot of people was like, I'm not sure if this would even work. And it's amazing that, you know, just for $1 it goes a long way, especially if you have tons of friends. I just wish like Facebook would let us be able to get more of the word out because of the way they trying to monetize themselves. And it's understandable what they're trying to do, but they're so late in the game in how to create Facebook to do that, where, you know, we're stuck trying to get the word out, and I feel bad. You know, I almost feel like I'm creating spam by letting people know about this, but, you know, that's the only thing we can do is let people know.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who does, you know, like, say the popular people who do Kickstarters. I mean, they're doing the same thing. It's not considered spam because everybody, you know, likes them and wants to pick up what they're doing. So
yeah, I think this is a great idea. I mean, the whole concept, we go back historically, artists had to basically have somebody sponsor them, and this is just another way of that same tradition.
Yeah. So why Indiegogo over Kickstarter or anything else?
Being that this is the first time we're doing it, giving it a try, I like the idea of Indiegogo because even if we do not reach the gold, whatever money we make, we get to keep. Whereas Kickstarter, if your goal is for 3,000 like we have, and we get 2,999 and we missed it by $1, we don't get the money.
Yeah.
So because we've already raised $648 from our $3,000 goal, we already used that money to pay the artist, get some of the incentives and the perks getting up. So this way here, with the flexible funding that they have, we don't have to wait the amount of time that you have to wait for Kickstarter. So we can use the money that we have already and get the process going. So there's not that waiting period that you would have with Kickstarter, where after the 30 days, there's another, I believe, 30 days before you get your money. Not to knock Kickstarter or anything like that. I'm pretty sure that we'll use them sometime down the line. But we figured let's use the one that we can get started, get working on right away. And for us, Indiegogo was the one to go for.
That sounds good. Because I've always been like, you know, very few comic projects previously, you know, a couple of years ago, were on Indiegogo, but I see more and more going there.
Yeah, because to me, it's like basically because of the money's coming in right away, we don't. There's not that waiting period. I mean, it's bad enough that while we're waiting for the days to go by, you have the anxiety of like, is this going to make it? Is it's not? Um, at least with the money coming in, it takes your mind off of it for a bit, and you're able to go, okay, we have this amount. What's the first thing that we need to pay for? Get out of the way, and that's basically how we see it. It's pretty much, here's a tool. Let's use it to the best of our abilities, and this is what we're planning to do.
Right, right. Wish you the best of luck with it, man. It's definitely a great looking book.
Thank you very much.
The art is fabulous. Yeah.
The artist is
But,
Nadir Ballin. He's done work for a bunch of little indie companies, and I'm almost sure once this book comes out, Marvel or DC are going to come and steal them away from us. But that's also why we created this book as a one-shot book, so you get the whole story. So it'll be ready there. But I'm sure that once this comes out, that Marvel or DC is going to come and try to swoop them up as quickly as possible.
Either that or Robert Kirkman will come in.
There you go.
Yeah, that's state of the industry. Do something awesome, and it falls apart because somebody steals your team.
Pretty much. And I wouldn't mind that because his art is so great. He's been working in the industry for so many years, and unfortunately, with working with a lot of indie companies, you know how it is, where things are not always solid, things are not always consistent, paychecks aren't always there. So, this I think would be good for him. And again, to me, it's like if they do come and get him, it's great because he's connected with us. So maybe he'll be able to take Tom Chu with him for coloring, maybe able to take me for lettering. So you never know because he has a whole creative team he can use.
Right. Oh, very cool, man. So, so Gary.
Yes.
What have you got going on right now, comic-wise? Are you working on a project, or?
Yes, I am. I'm teamed up with writer Jamie Gamble. We're working on a little mini-series, a little story of his for Hero Code. It's his comic. I'm not sure if anybody knows Jamie or not. We met.
Yeah, I know Jamie.
Yeah, we met over Twitter, and I posted my art. And when we were doing introductions, and everyone's like, "No, here's my website." I'm like, "Duh! Why didn't I say my website?" My stuff's at listerart.com. But I'm doing pencils and inks on his little mini-series. It's a 3-issue mini-series that backs up his. I guess we're going to actually fold it into. He's working with his line. It's Heroes Code. He was going to have a mini-series outside of his ongoing title that he's working on with other artists, but it looks like we're going to just fold this into his that line instead of being a standalone miniseries. But working on pencils and inks right now. I do everything digitally. Working on my Cintiq here. I don't have the best technical setup for show and tell, but maybe free.
Well, there's actually a screen share button if you want to do that.
Well, I don't have a camera on my computer, so I'm actually got this rigged up through my iPhone.
It shares the screen of your computer. You can give it a shot. So
yeah, I'll click and see what I can do here.
Speaking of screens.
Yes.
I'm gonna go on video for once.
What?
I'm gonna go on video for once, yeah. Let's see how this works.
I'm not sure if I'm ready for this.
Let me stop the internet. Yes.
I don't know, because I did screen share before, but I don't think I'm gonna get over my camera shyness. Let's just see if I can figure this out. That work?
By the way, anybody who wants to share anything, I mean, with the group, you could put it in the group chat, but if you want to share anything publicly, you could put it into the event page, and that will always exist. So, you know, others in the Hangout can check out the event page later if they're interested in, you know, fellow Hangout peoples.
That's a good thought.
Just, you know, you could do it now, you could do it later.
Do it later because I'm almost in the zone.
You stay in that zone, man. I don't want to lose you.
Hello. It worked.
Ah! Humans!
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll be right back.
It worked.
It worked. She ran off.
They camera shyness. It's terrible.
There we go. You can watch Google and not see anything.
Copy and paste. I put down on my retyping.
Is that that's your screen, Gary, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to get something happening here.
I see a war-torn something or other.
Yeah, using I did some quick setup here. There's one page. Kind of cool.
Nice.
The bad guys have beaten up our hero and are standing over him triumphantly.
That's not very nice.
Yeah, ratchet up the suspense.
Those bad guys are bad guys.
They're living up to their name.
It's nice work, man. Really nice.
Here's the previous page to that.
It's actually kind of interesting, though, that we're having the topic of Patreon and stuff, because I have a really bad habit of working for free, which I should probably break, because, I don't know, whenever anyone asks for something at work, because I'm afraid that if I put, like, a price on it, that no one will, like, ask me to do things, because, I mean, I'm still in that stage where I'm learning everything, so then it's like, oh, if I say, like, oh, you have to give me money, then I'm not going to get any work, but gotta break that.
Definitely have to break that
Yeah.
in order to make the money.
Eventually, yeah.
You know, I mean, it's fine doing stuff for free for people, especially with your friends. When you're doing collaborations, that is perfectly fine. You know, because at least you're all in the same boat. But you know, when you're doing something for free for somebody, you also fall into that trap of they're not really. The best part about putting a price tag on a piece of artwork is you get rid of the people who just want to use you to do it for free. Because everybody wants their stuff for free, of course. But, you know, if you keep doing it for free, you're never going to be able to buy anything. You're never going to be able to pay for anything. And, you know, you're not going to be able to survive. And again, when people say, oh, you're going to do this for exposure, always remember, exposure can kill you if you're out in the cold. So... You know, I tend to, I still do some stuff for free every now and then, only because the project might tickle my fancy and go, that would be something really cool to work on. Or it's because I'm working with someone that, you know, is a buddy of mine and I haven't worked with him for years, or if I always wanted to work with him, him or her, I could always say, okay, I'll do this for free if you do this for me for free. It's one of those things that I've bartered my work. You know, I've colored a page for somebody, and they turned around and was able to ink a page for me on one of my other projects. So
That's a good idea.
You know, that's the thing that I've always done with my friends. It's like, yeah, they may not be able to afford to pay me, but it's like I'm doing my own projects. I don't necessarily need to ink this particular piece myself. Why don't you ink it for me, and I'll color your page. Or the same thing with pencilers, that I've had them do pinups for me of my characters in trade of coloring a pinup that they need for themselves for a convention. So, you know, you would have to come down to basically what you feel comfortable doing, what you feel comfortable working with. And again, this way here, if you're going to do a free project, why not do a free project for either yourself or for a friend who could really use it, and then you can exchange talent.
I just wish I had more friends who drew. That's
Yeah, I've got that same kind of thing. I feel like I'm on, a desolation island. I'm the only person who, in my immediate 100-mile radius, has any interest in drawing comics. So it's a little thin trying to get, it would be cool to get a lot of, feedback with other artists and work together. All my connections are all through, the social media stuff.
yeah.
So when you talk to people like, oh, you draw comics, like, yeah, and then they kind of drift away. You're like,
Yeah.
it's like,
I've gotten that. I did see one person though in my school who was walking around with a Kubert school T-shirt.
Yeah.
Apparently he took summer courses there. I'm like, oh, I need to talk to this fellow because I thought that was really cool. But yeah, it's like my school's really big, so I think that there are a few other people who are kind of hidden around. It's just the thing of like finding them and actually being in the same classes.
Right. I know that feeling.
Oh, I know that exact feeling, where it's like, where are the comic book people? Because they're kind of hidden.
Yeah.
And depending on the school you go to, it's very much like that. There was a mix-up with my high school. So the high school I went to for the first year was a regular high school here in the Bronx, Evander Childs, and no art, nothing there. And I took the test to get into art and design. I took the test to get into fashion industry. So those were the art schools I wanted to go to for high school, but I didn't get to go the first year. So there was only a very few people that even read comics, let alone collected comics, and there was no artist whatsoever in that school. And then once I went into art and design, that first year was eye-opener because everybody was reading comics, no matter what. It didn't matter what major that they had. It was just like the whole school was reading comics, and Forbidden Planet was literally 4 blocks away, even less. So every Thursday we're going to the comic book shop, and it's the whole school pretty much showing up at the shop. And so there was it was easier to be able to at least sit down in the cafeteria and read some comics. It was easier to actually be able to talk to people about it and see which group of people you would kind of hang out with. And it's like, didn't matter, they all read comics, but you had the small group that wanted to go into comics, you had the group that wanted to go into animation, you got the group that was going into fashion, but it didn't matter because everybody was still reading comics. So it was night and day comparatively to the schools. And when you're with other people that are creative, you just can't help but want to be creative as well.
Oh yeah, I totally agree with that. And sometimes I feel like my stuff is getting real stagnant because I don't have immediate people to bounce off of with other, looking at their art, and you feeding on their creativity, and they're looking at what you're doing, and they're feeding off your stuff, and it just kind of perpetuates everyone's creativity just to have that surrounding with you, that kind of thing.
Exactly. And then the great thing, again, we're living in a great age with the internet that at least you could talk to people of your own kind, so to speak. That you're saying that you're away from anybody basically, but at least here there's a connection now. That is like, sometimes I feel I only exist on the internet because I'm at home all the time working.
Yeah, I mean, that's like one of the main reasons I sort of created this kind of thing. It's, I'm stuck in a small town in Kentucky, and as far as I know right now, I don't know of any comic book people in town, and
Do you even have a
I
comic book
interact
shop?
with online, but no.
No?
No, not even comics at Walmart. It's nothing
Right.
around here. I could pick up a comic book T-shirt, but that's not going to do me any good.
Right.
Oh, the movie once. That's probably the only thing. We'll watch the movies.
I'm pretty sure Kentucky outlawed comics because it was harming the children. So
Yeah, there was that thing. I just learned about that recently. How in like the 40s or something, like the Innocence of Children Act or whatever it is,
Oh yeah,
and they said that
Yeah.
no comics were harming children.
Dr.
Yeah,
Wortham.
Whole thing.
Dr. Wortham. He
Yeah.
made it all up just so he could sell tickets to his talk show. It's his. The weird thing about it is that he was helping people because of he had the institute here in New York where he was helping the mentally disturbed. So he was making money by going to schools and talking. Unfortunately, he made up all this stuff, you know. So it's like he basically created an evil to help people, but it's like almost destroyed the industry single-handedly.
He made a scapegoat, basically.
Exactly, because he found the most popular thing at the time, you know, and that's the way it always goes. You know, you find the most popular thing and make that evil for a while. You know how MTV was the evil thing, rap was evil, music, you know,
Oh yeah.
whatever's popular. Video
The old,
games now, the internet.
Yeah, so when people started, attacking your comic books or your art, then you know you're doing good.
Yeah.
All my heroes have had legal battles over like censorship and things, so I feel like if I don't get a lawsuit eventually for censorship, then I'm doing something wrong. So, here you go.
That weird catch-22 where it's like, man, I
Yeah.
wish comics were bad again.
Yeah.
You know, wish people hated comics so this way here at least they'll be selling more.
Yeah. Wilson, you mentioned, art and design. I went to art and design. That's in Manhattan, New York. Did you ever go to the, what was it called? Comic book art gallery? The comic store that they posted original artwork on the walls all the time.
You know, I have yet to
So,
go to that, and it's really weird that because it's in New York. I know of it.
yeah.
I worked at Marvel. I ran their art department for the art returns department. I really I should go to that thing. I looked them up online a few months back, just so I can
Yeah.
schedule a visit, and I never really did. That's one of those places where I need to go. It would be kind of fun to go there because I know there'll be artwork that's held, and so it'll be kind of
Yeah.
a fun thing. I haven't gone yet. I do. That's one of the places that I do plan to go to. You we have all these really cool stuff here, and I don't go.
Yeah, well, that's our way in New York.
Pretty
Um,
much.
I loved it. Because it was always like going to a comic store and a gallery at the same time. Not every comic store posts original artwork.
No, usually they'll have
Because
one or
that's
two
original
pieces.
artwork isn't a big sell. So, but I I used to go there when I was going to high school. This was a billion years ago, of course, but it was so inspiring, to see. I don't even know what they had, but it was just it was comic book artwork, and probably like stuff like Gene Colan and all that, John Buscema
Oh yeah, it would
at the
definitely
time.
be the masters of that time and that era. Um, there is something about seeing original comic book artwork up close and personal. We always look at the artwork after it's been published, so it's been printed and it's sitting there. But to see original art and to be that look, there's whiteout on the page. These people have made mistakes. You can do corrections. I've seen artwork that just because once it's scanned in and things are tweaked here and there, it doesn't look like there's any mistakes at all. But to see the originals and hold them and be able to see not only the mistakes that were made, the corrections that were made, the corrections that might have been made in the bullpen where they'll have this special paper, this sticky white paper that it just like you're putting a white sticker on a piece of the artwork and then it's drawn over. So even the artwork that was done by the main artist was not even acceptable. That panel was not acceptable. It was another artist put a panel over it and had to be redrawn in the bullpen in that original artist style. So to have that realization that even ones that we look up to are not perfect. It takes a bit of the burden off of you to go, okay, just draw it. Don't be afraid of the page. And once you pass that fear, not being afraid of the line, you get more natural. So I think that was the biggest thing that I realized looking at original artwork. It's like, oh, this is how they do it. They can, you can add whiteout to it, and that always blew my mind.
Yeah, I remember, me and Jimmy used to go up at Marvel to the offices like after hours a lot of time, and
at a time that you were able to do that.
Yeah, at a time when we were able to do that, we're talking mid '90s ish. They had they copied everything, and they copied all the original art. The whole production was in the bullpen and stuff. And we'd always go into the copy room and go through the garbage pails and just pick out like pages and pages. It was all copies, but of artwork that wasn't lettered or touched up or anything. And a lot of it was pencils, some of it was already inked. But it was amazing to look at in comparison to just like a small 8.5 by 11 comic. These were full-size copies and stuff, and Marvel just threw them out. I don't know whatever their policy was, but I used to hang those suckers up on my wall. It was amazing.
That's the thing about any. Sorry, that's the thing about any artist. The wastebasket is always full, no matter what.
It's a great way of putting it, actually.
Oh yeah, there have been things that I've tossed out, and I'll have either one of my brothers or one of my friends is like, "Why are you tossing that out? This looks good." It's like, no, you don't understand. This one little area here, that's perfect. The rest of it is garbage. But
I feel that.
That's the thing. It's like I still have boxes and boxes of Xerox stuff, of pencils, inks, full colored, not color, but penciled and ink stuff or lettered stuff. Back when there was lettering still done on the boards. It's amazing to see the artwork. And, we're dealing with, you're talking about at the time that we're working at, 11 by 14? No, 11 by 17.
17. Yeah.
But did you ever get to hold the older artwork from the 60s and 70s where the pages were double that size? Or even in the 50s, they were just huge. They were working on unfortunately I don't have the measurements on me, but I guess about the size of a double page spread is the regular art page they would work at. If you go to a con and see original artwork, you would see that the pages that Kirby and Romita worked on were just huge. And just the detail in that was phenomenal, that you're getting to work that big. And I've always wanted to just get some artboard and just try drawing a comic page that big, but I feel it's like, that's just huge. And I can understand for speed you have to draw it smaller.
Well, it helps. It's less cost. Bigger paper costs more.
Yeah.
It's you're throwing down less ink on it and less pencil, so it costs less supply-wise. But what is it? I don't know if anybody's following Eric Lawson, but Eric Lawson is now doing. He's I believe, I'm not thinking an error here, but I believe he's working double size.
Oh, is he?
And on his current issues, and he's on his Facebook. He's got all examples of it now. And he just something he wanted to try, get back into the original way comics were done. I think he mentions a lot about it. But yeah, he's a crazy man.
It's one thing that I. Sorry, I keep on doing that. Bad habit of mine. But, yeah, I have this really bad habit where I just can't do large scale. In fact, in AP Studio Art, we're actually doing this thing where we have to take a corner of the room and make like a really big copy of it on a paper. And I realized that I'm just really bad at large scale, so that's definitely something that, like, you can put so much more detail in it. It's just that I'm so used to working in smaller sketchbooks and smaller paper that it's definitely something I need to get back into. So that would probably, I mean, I think that's crazy to work huge like that, but it's definitely something that I should probably try.
It's good for the experience. You know, I know, like, for me, like when I've done live art, and that's drawing vertically as opposed to working on a flat desk. It's a different experience, and it's harder for me, but it's good because I'm a lot looser than I typically would be. Of course, I'm working bigger than I typically work, so there's that as well. Um, but it's good to change it up once in a while. But you know, I like
Yeah, I like
doing
the
what I'm
idea.
doing.
I like the idea of, basically working like the old masters did, and how they, approach the page and what have you. That in some cases, especially like the '60s, that Kirby style works must work so much better large, because you're doing these type of arcs, and you're doing these quick type drawings, that being that it's looser and working on that side of the page, it must be easier to do, because I still know that there's a few artists that will still work very large because that's what they're used to and that's what they're happy doing.
I'm not
Yeah.
for a lot of that though. I'm not sure how much it is what materials you're using as it is, you know, just being that artist. Like people try and do the Kirby thing, and I don't think it's that they're not working as large. It's just they don't quite hit it because they're not Jack Kirby.
No, no, I understand that, but you can still mimic the style, and you might even find that working in that size might be it for you, because as we're learning as artists, we eventually fall into what's the favorite pencil we want to use and use all the time, what's the brush you want to use for inking. I won't change. I won't walk away from the red sable brushes. Can't get them anywhere right now, but that's what I enjoy using for inking. So you eventually find that tool that you like. So far, the Bristol boards, I'm always running around trying to find a better board, because the ones that, again, I got spoiled working at Marvel. They had some great boards to work on,
Yeah.
and it's, I even went as far as to try to find their source, and again, getting the boards from those guys is easy to do, but again, Marvel goes through one more process that the boards I have do not, and it's just the printing of the lines on the board. So now you're passing it through the machine that's heating up the board a little bit, and that feels like that does something with it too. So is that those little nuances that, eventually, what is it that you're most comfortable working with? And and again, yeah, just working this, even if we held the same pencil Jack Kirby did, doesn't make us Jack. But, there's still something to be said to be able to use the same tools that they did. And it could all just be psychological.
Yeah.
That's like, I'm working on the same type of stuff.
Well, we're artists. A lot of it is psychological.
Oh, it's all psychological.
That's what I find
Um,
with tools anymore is, well, with working digitally, you have just an amazing amount of tools and stuff you wouldn't have working analog, but yet you still kind of draw back to your favorite 3 or 4 things to use. Like I'm using Manga Studio here to do the penciling. When there's 900 gazillion different types of pencils that are preset you can use to do this, and I use like 2, because they're the best thing, or that you feel are the best thing. But you've got all these options, but you use 0.2% of the actual program.
Yeah.
It's just you get into that groove with what you like, and you're like, I don't want to try all the other bells and whistles that come with this. This is doing the job.
Creatures of habit, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I sketch pencil to paper, I still grab a number two pencil.
Oh,
I have
yeah.
all these different types, all these fancy ones and the blue ones and what have you, all these different numbers from 6B to 3H or whatever. And eventually, it's like, you know what, a yellow number two pencil goes a long way with me.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's all practice, isn't it? I mean, we get used. I mean, we get used to a thing, we get good with a thing, and the experimenting is kind of fun, but you're always starting at a lesser amount of experience and a lesser amount of, for lack of a better word, training with a different material. So you. I think that's actually good in a lot of ways, is having something that you're just so comfortable with, you can just pick it up and do greatness with it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think the biggest beginner's mistake is thinking that you need to have a certain supplies, because like we were saying, you can make great things just using the basic Ticonderoga pencil. I mean, you really don't need the fancy stuff. Like, I'm using this basic mechanical pencil that you can get for like 10 cents, and you can get it. Like, I don't know, like I've always used mechanical pencils, but I remember when I was a beginner, I'm like, oh no, I have to have like the fancy Prismacolor, like black pencil, and it won't be any good unless I use that. So.
Yeah,
I've never actually had much luck with any like high-end pencils or anything. Granted, I don't even use pencils much anymore, but when I do, it's always just the cheapo .5 lead, like the cheapest pencil that I can get. Always works best for me.
yeah, there's something to be said about those cheap art tools because, once you learn to work with those, you can work with anything. Because sometimes all you have available is that one thing because, it's 3 in the morning, you can't get to the art store, you got to finish something, and it's like, well, I got these, I could use, whatever it is. And then eventually there are things where, you find that tool you like, and then that's it. Just buy a load of them and always have them on stock because you never know when they might discontinue something too.
Yeah, I'm finding like I love using repeater to do tight line work and anything technical, and the ones I use have a ink cartridge that you can buy.
Yes.
But they're becoming less and less available, and more expensive.
Right.
I mean, just in the last 5 years, the prices doubled and tripled. And Lisa keeps telling me, "Oh, you should just use something else." I'm like, "No, I don't want to."
You understand? I'm set in my ways.
I think half of it's psychosomatic too, where it's like when you start using a new supply, like nothing works besides that one thing, and you feel like you only work with that one tool, so you always have to use it. So I'm sure, like you were saying before, half of it's just psychological.
Oh, it completely
Yeah.
is. This is brand new. Well, it's not brand new. It's a couple of years now. I had gotten a eraser from this Korean company, Buzz, one of our fellow comic book artists. He gave it to me. It was like, this is an amazing eraser. Once you use this, you can throw all the other ones away. And he said he went home and just threw them all away. All he will use is this one eraser. And I think the name is called Vanish. I'm trying to see if I have it laying around here somewhere, but I don't. So basically, this eraser created in Korea, it's almost like a mixture of a kneaded eraser and a regular soft white eraser. And the thing is, it's like it is very good in picking up the line work off paper, even if the item has been inked. It picks it off well. It doesn't destroy the paper. And I could understand, that this might be the one tool to use all the time for erasers. But I still won't let go of my trusted kneaded eraser that I've been using the moment I became an artist, because that was like the first real art set I received as a kid was that, here's a couple of pencils, here's the how to draw book, one of those little mini books, here's an eraser, and here's a pencil sharpener. And the thing is, it's like I couldn't figure out what the eraser was because it's the first time I ever seen a kneaded eraser. I'm so used to the pink erasers that when I looked at the kit, it's like, I never got the eraser. There's this weird little rubbery thing that looks like gum, but where's the eraser? And it took me a while to figure out that that was the needed eraser. And it's like, to this day, there's just something about having a needed eraser. Open up a brand new one, there's that smell that it has, and it's like, okay, I'm ready to work. If I don't have this, I can't draw. There's been times where I've had to sit down and work on a project, and it's like, I need a new needed eraser. I'm not going to do work today until I get the new one. So yeah, you have that psychological thing that I need to have it there as that crutch, because that's my, that's my binky, that's my blanket, is that needed eraser being there all the time.
But it's in many ways it's also like a studio setup. I've had many different places I lived, and the studio has been different shapes and sizes in each one. But I'm always staring at a wall, and usually I have plaster something on the wall right in front of me. I'm usually working on a flat surface as opposed to, an art table with a 45-degree angle. If I have a real art table, it's usually very little angle to it. Certain things in my setup. I usually have a file cabinet to the right of me where I keep my ink and copy paper and some stuff. So there's tried and true, like, definite things of my setup that are always the same. And it's like it's got to be clean before I start work.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
and so on.
If only I was in that habit. My workspace is a tornado.
My workspace has been on the Superfund list a couple times, so yeah, I don't I don't actually get much work done in a completely clean environment.
One thing I've been trying to get used to is actually sketching on location, only because I went to Governor's Island, right? They have this really cool art show there, and I realized when I was looking at all these like little exhibits that I could just like sit there for hours, and like it's so inspiring. Just like that's why no one wants to go to museums with me, because I will be one of those people that will just sit there in the same like little room area for like 30 minutes just sketching whatever is around me. So I guess I usually have to go alone, but one thing I've been trying to do is get used to like bringing a travel kind of studio along with me.
I used to definitely in high school and afterwards for years. I used to just go into Manhattan, and there's plenty of parks or just places to sit throughout the city and just not necessarily people sketch, but sketch outside, with people, hundreds of people passing me. I just liked that. It was like a calming experience. Although I never really did anything serious, but it was just good practice to sketch outside. I haven't done that for a long time. I intended to do that this summer, but I'm still yet to do it.
Being that I would have to commute, I will always have a sketchbook on me to sketch on the train and stuff like that. And then also being from a large family that there was always noise in the house, I could sketch anywhere, so there was never that problem that, oh, it's too noisy or anything to sketch. Once you get past the people are going to be staring at you phase of it, then it doesn't even bother you at all. That's why I could do sketches at cons, because you could kind of start tuning people out. A buddy of mine, D, who's drawn one of our books called Dark Bloods, when he goes to cons, he has his earphones. He basically blocks out the world to be able to sketch at a show. But I know he's done that from training on being on the subway and then putting on the earphones, because you also I don't mind interacting with people, but there are times that you're going to get those stupid questions. Oh, do you draw? It's like, what do you think I'm doing right now?
No, I don't.
It's like,
I have no idea what I'm doing.
And what the thing is that people really don't know how to have a conversation with an artist. So they always have a conversation as if you're a 4-year-old drawing for the first time.
It's
Oh,
not
you
a stick
always
figure.
draw? And it's like, yeah, I do enjoy drawing. It's like, oh, you have a lot of talent. And it's like, well, talent's okay, but, I spent the last whatever many years honing to get to this point to be able to at least draw on the train. Oh, you draw really
My
fast. It's like,
favorite.
yeah. And then I always get that. Would you draw me? Like, I don't do portraits.
My
See,
favorite is
You're an
when.
artist. You should be drawing. We're all talking. uh, um, a lot of times I hear, people say, "You're an artist. You should draw Sonic the Hedgehog." It's like everybody has advice, but they have no idea about, what it is being an artist.
My favorite thing that I always get is when you're sketching
So,
and you're sketching something and you say, yeah, I'm an artist. And then people look at you. It's like, oh, you want to get in professionally? You're like, yeah. And then they look. It's like, oh, you're actually really good. It's like, well, I think I'd kind of have to be if this is what I was trying to get into. It's like,
see,
It's
terrible.
I for years locally, there's all kinds of events and festivals and whatnot, and I go there and set up and do caricatures. So, I've always had a mass of people like standing behind me while I'm going to town drawing this guy who's sitting there, and yeah, you get all of those questions. How long have you been doing this, and all the whole gambit of questions. So I've gotten to where I'm able to um, kind of jaw with everybody while I'm working, and sometimes that really helps when I'm always nervous the very first one that you sit down to do for the caricatures, because it's you haven't drawn, you haven't got to warm up, you've already got people coming up to you and going, are you open, are you ready to to do your thing? So that first one's always a little nerve-wracking, and while I'm working I'm drawing it and I'm like, oh my god, this is looking like so much crap, this is not looking like this dude at all. But if you can entertain them while they're sitting there, that kind of thing, and just converse and get them to loosen up and relax, it also helps on the drawing side of things. Um, but so I've been doing that, like I said, for years. So now I do it. I can either tune out everyone who's hovering and watching and looking over my shoulder, or I'll include them, like, hey, are you peeking? Are you looking at, and kind of make them part of the show, kind of, so to speak. So that drawing out live in public is great, at least for your confidence about what you're doing, and then also to bring people in to see that what's going on. It's really fun for that aspect. And there's days where, like I said, the caricatures are clicking and everything's looking good, and then there's other days you're just like watching the watch, it's because nothing's really hitting, but everybody's loving this stuff, so you just kind of keep pushing forward. So it's fun stuff that way.
I remember, I've had, and it's different scenarios. Like, I've worked in studios with other people, and to have those guys like watching what I'm doing is one experience. I've gone to comic conventions and just had fans passing and checking out, as I do comic convention sketches. But I remember, like, one of the first times I realized it was a film crew filming me as I was sketching somebody, sketching a superhero for somebody. And all of a sudden I felt this, my whole body broke out in a sweat, but I'm sure I looked calm. I was like, oh, hey, how's it going?
Yeah, because now you're on point.
It's like, you want me to do anything? No, just keep sketching on it, and it'll be on the news. Oh, okay, cool.
No pressure.
No pressure there. Uh-huh.
It's like, I hope this doesn't suck.
Yeah. Yeah, so honestly, what I'm doing right now, while y'all are able to watch me what I'm doing, it's actually really kind of killing me inside. So I'm like, I'm a little nervous. This is not looking the way not looking the way I'm wanting it to. But
Trust me, we've all been there.
It's never as good on the page as it is in your head.
oh yeah, yeah. Well, I do so many
Uh,
just rough layer and then rough layer and then rough layer and then finally, after about 5 pencil quote unquote layers, and it's like, okay, I think I got it to where I'm comfortable about inking it now.
Has
Looks good to
anyone
me,
ever
man.
has anyone ever done a speed paints and then even when nobody's watching you and you just have that camera on, you freeze up? It's like you draw well, it's like, okay, I can kind of turn on the camera. And even if nobody's there, it's not in real time, you still feel like that anxious thing, like, oh, people are going to see this later, and then nothing comes out good. I don't know, that's always my experience with that.
I've recorded a couple of times of myself coloring or inking digitally just to see what that would look like. And the weird thing is, like, once you realize there's a timer going on because you're being recorded, kind of freaks me out a little bit.
Oh
Because
yeah.
then as I'm working, I know I'm working slower than I really should be. So like I know I'm usually quicker. I also feel that I'm working more instinctively. But now, why am I doing all these little mistakes? And I realize it's because now I'm on a timer, and I can't really. I'm so worried that I'm not doing anything on the page that looks exciting. I think it's all going to look boring because it's just me coloring. There's nothing exciting about it. But when I'm coloring on my own and nothing's being recorded, I know I could also distract myself with stuff. And it's like, oh, let me check my emails. Let me do this. Let me do that. Where it's like, no, I can't do any of that right now because I'm coloring, and that's all I'm allowed to do because the camera's recording. I don't want it to just basically, oh, did it freeze because I walked away for a second? So the concept, and then I think, okay, maybe I should do a voiceover and talk about what techniques I'm using. And then I realize it's like, that's kind of, I don't know if that's going to seem silly. It's like, okay, I'm now coloring this hand. Now I made it blue or whatever. you know. So to me, I feel like I'm not sure to do that. And when mentioning speed drawing, where it's like, you take it and then you make it go fast. It is so weird how when I watch a lot of those and then read the comments that people think we work that quickly.
I've gotten that a lot too. I was never one of those people that believed it. I just never understood. It's like, how did people think that it's actually physically possible to move your hand like that? So,
And again, it's because they're only seeing the finished product. They're not seeing that it was edited, it was changed. So in their mind, oh, why do comic books come out late? Look how fast they're drawing.
Well, and the thing is that people don't understand how we do our thing at all. They have no concept of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's as far as they are concerned, it is absolute black magic. Like, I worked as a graphic designer for the Pepsi branch of my hometown, and we had graphics that we were supposed to do, and we had a thing to print them out, and nobody understood how any of this worked. I was the only one who could run our graphics programs, and I was the only one who could run the printer. So people would ask me to do stuff and just be like, will this work? I have no idea. I'm like, yeah, it'll work. It's like, okay, well, just whenever you can get it, I guess. Because, and then they ask you to do something, you try and explain to them why it won't work, and they don't understand why. It's something they have no concept of.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily bad or wrong, and nobody's stupid because of it. It's just, this is not something that we ever teach people when they're coming out of school, or if they're not interested, they never have to deal with it. So, they see something on screen where it's a speed paint or whatever, and it's crunched down for time. They're like, oh, is that how they do it? I had no idea.
I do like telling people that it is magic. It is magic, and you have to understand not everyone can do it. Because sometimes it's almost easier to explain to them it is magic. And if you can't do it, you can't do it. That's it. I can't teach you how to do it. This is a pencil, not a magic wand. But and also it's like when you're talking to people at cons and you pretty much they want to know how to do it, but at the same time they don't really want to put in the effort or the time. They almost want to be able to go, is there a program that you can use that'll make me an artist really quick? And it's like, no, you've been doing this for years. Hell, I'm still learning. I'm still taking classes every now and then when a new program comes out. My animation studio, I got it sitting there. I haven't even put it into the computer yet. But it's like, I need to learn how to do that one too, because I would like to be, going straight to penciling directly on the computer. And trying to use that program, because I could do it in Illustrator. Photoshop, but it feels like, and watching you actually do the manga studio, it's like, yeah, that's kind of like something I want to do. I feel that it might be a little not easier, but it's like that's a tool I want to get to use. But again, it's like people don't want to put in the time. They want you to say, oh, it was easy for me to be at home and a magical owl showed up and says I'm a wizard and I'm going to get to go to art school.
Oh yeah, but I switched over to working digital because, like I said, I'm kind of a one-man show, and it was saving me so much work from penciling old school. I got a is sorely missing me, but you pencil, clean it up, scan it, and have a scanner. I work at 11 by 17. Scan it. You'd have to stitch it in pieces, clean that up. Then, or inking, and it was just way too many steps for just, I have to turn this artwork out. And being able to just do it here in one application, with pencil layers and then going to ink layers, and it was just, all I have is me, so I've got to find a way to make this stuff go quick.
Yeah.
And this was the, once my pennies were saved, this was the logical step. It had to go digital in order to make that time go quick.
Well, and yeah, it's kind of the same thing for me, although it was less a time thing as getting a good set of digital tools was the first time that I felt like I wasn't working against my tools that I was using. Like having a really nice tablet set up and using a really nice art program, I can kind of make things work the way they're more intuitive for me. So my pen strokes, my brush strokes are actually how I expect them to look when I put them down, and means I have to erase less. Things look nicer because they're actually coming out the way that I had them in my head, or a little closer to it. But it's not a replacement for being able to do this stuff, and I think that's the thing that people get very mistaken about.
Oh yeah, absolutely. These tools are absolutely useless if you are not an artist, and or have that artistic ability set. You've got to know how to do all this stuff with your primitive quote unquote tools before you can graduate and start taking this kind of stuff on. Because I don't care how many filters and plugins and this, that, and the other that you can click this and click that, and then it does something. Any trained eye will be able to pick out that you were using the program to do all your work versus you using the program as a tool to make to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. Is that it's just another tool. When artists were screaming, "Oh, the computer's going to replace us," and it's like, I was coloring at Marvel both by hand, the Doc Martens inks, and I got to see the beginning stages. I worked I think on Photoshop 2 or whatever it was, and seeing how digitally things were changing, and it's like, oh, it's a computer. That's fun. Let me try to do, can I mimic the same things? And it's like, okay, so it is working different, instead of working from light to dark, it's dark to light or what have you. And, there's so many different ways to get coloring done on Photoshop that, basically once I found the way that I was used to, I did it all the time. And again, it was just learning how to use the tool. Then getting books and stuff like that, and it's like, okay, they use Photoshop this way. How can I use that and pervert it and turn it into something for comics?
Right.
for bad comics. So it was basically, oh, this is cool. I could do this. I could do that. And it's like, but it was again, it's knowing the tool. But if I didn't know how to draw, there is no way I'm going to be drawing on the computer. It could only do so much for you.
Right.
But again, it's like is that using that as a tool, and it is for speed. And the downside to it sometimes is that you'll be sitting at your art desk sketching and go, oh, let me do. Let me undo. And it's like, oh, I can't because I'm actually working on pencil and paper.
The fun.
Go ahead. Sorry, I've only done that once, and it was actually the second to last time that I worked traditional, and I was working on the thing, and I had gotten so used to just undoing stuff. I had a mistake, and this is the stupidest thing in the world, but I swear to God it happened. I'm staring at my artboard, and the part of my brain that controls hitting Control Z apparently knew there wasn't a keyboard there because I didn't do anything, but I'm just expecting that the piece of art that I didn't want there to go away. So I'm just staring at my artboard for like 30, 40 seconds like, what's wrong here? Something is wrong here.
I've done that before.
I've done it so many times where I've made a mistake and I get ready to reach for it and it's like, if I didn't stop myself, I think it would have worked.
Even better, working digital, and then you like my stylus. On one end you draw with, the other end you can flip it around and it works as an eraser. You ever brush away imaginary eraser crumbs? just out of habit, you erase and you drag real quick across the screen. Like, what did I just do?
I have not done that, but
I think I have actually done that a couple times because what I'm using now is a Wacom Cintiq, and it has that stylus set up, and I think there's been once or twice where I've been like, oh, that's dumb.
Or it's like I got so used to using an iPad for a while, just for regular everyday use, and then I get to the laptop and I'm trying to use it, and it's like, why isn't the screen working as I'm moving my hand across the screen? It's like you get used to one technology so quickly. And it's like, oh, yeah, this isn't the iPad. I can't do this. And I'm sitting there for like 2 minutes wondering, did something break? Why isn't this working?
Muscle memory is a bitch.
Exactly.
It's kind of funny, though. You'd think that since me being like one of the younger people who grew up, like they've known nothing else but technology, I actually far prefer working analog to digital, which sounds kind of strange, but I don't know. Lately, though, I haven't really touched, which is really bad. I really should get back into Photoshop, but I haven't touched Photoshop in over a month, which is kind of yeesh, but...
I've actually talked to a lot of, and it seems to be more of the younger generation who really prefer the analog materials to the digital, and I don't know if that's kind of a cultural thing. They've been brought up in the technology and so they are more used to analog's strengths or something. I don't know, but I do find that interesting. Seems to be
you get bored of it.
Yeah. I'm not sure if there's some kind of pushback or why that is, but I don't think it's weird at all. I've heard that before from a lot of people.
Yeah, I heard that from another kid who was in my art class, and I think he brought up a good point, is that you feel like maybe the whole digital age, it feels so disconnected that you don't feel like you're making things, and then when you actually do it analog, you feel like you're actually making something as opposed to just touching something up.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
It makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it seems like there's this tactile kind of function that what you're doing is real, so to speak. Working on, as much fun as I do have working on my Wacom tablet, it's just that drawing on the tablet, and I have the old tablet, so I'm looking at the screen, but not at my hand while I'm drawing. You get that weird disconnect that. I always long and go back to doing sketches right on the page because it just feels like, I guess, more real. I think it also is that texture, that feeling you get while you're working, while you're creating.
Oh yeah, that natural graphite to paper
Yeah.
is not, you can't duplicate it with with the stylus and your Cintiq or your Wacom, because you got that plastic on plastic kind of slippery feel, and so it's missing that, I don't know, that natural realness to it,
Right.
that it takes a little bit to get used to that part. But I think a lot of that is, as far as a preference to regular old pencil and paper, is it's right there. There's no, I got to fire up a computer, I got to fire up this, I got to learn this application. You can just pick up and go. That's the good part about the old school stuff, is you can just do it. It's just there. Um, and I sometimes feel that, when I've put down 2 or 3 pages, digitally, like, and there's a little voice in your head that's like, well, it's just ones and zeros. There's no real artwork. There's no tangible anything that what you've done. It's just, your computer could blow up and now it's all gone. That little bit of dread about how you're working, but
Yeah, there is something to say to be able to look at 22 pages of original artwork, a stack of pages that's there, that, this is what you created. There's some of my friends say that it sounds kind of conceited to be able, when I say, no, I'm an alchemist. You got to understand, I turn paper into gold. There's something there. I am doing real magic. But when you're doing it on a computer, it's like, there's that, I don't have pages to sell. These are just, I got the finished comic book, I got the finished product, but there's no black and white page to look at and go, oh, I could have done this. Here's that. I mean, it creates like a timeline for you, art style, when you look at the original pages.
right.
And again, like I said, there is something to be said to have a stack of pages and go, I made all that. That's not necessarily my life's work, but it's like, here's a good stack of items that it's like, now I know why I'm tired at the end of the day. Look at all this work I did. Where it's like, you can't look at your hard drive and go, look at all that work I did. It doesn't seem the same.
I don't know. I've got so much stuff in my hard drive, just like hundreds and hundreds of pages of my comic. Like, I look at that, I can look at that and go, wow, that's crazy.
Right.
Has
Then
anyone
I was just gonna say, then I actually look at those pages and I'm like, I don't want to look at these old pages anymore. They make me sad.
but has anyone actually experienced the horror of having one of your digital copies of something, the file gets corrupted and you can't open it again?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God, it's awful.
It is completely awful. There's this thing where, all because of that happening in the past, to backing up stuff multiple times. I love having the Apple products because we have that time machine thing where it saves everything. That has helped me out so many times.
Oh, yeah.
Because it might be something as simple where you just can't open up that one file. It's just corrupt or something. And again, or something crashed on you. Okay, I only lost the last half hour or what have you. But there have been times where I've lost pages where it's like, I'm going to have to recreate it from scratch just because there's nothing that exists on it. But yeah, one of the virtues that I got from Marvel was backing up everything, making a copy every step of the way. For example, for coloring, you scan it in, so you have this, the original scan. Then you start coloring, and I do different steps in coloring. So I have an RGB coloring when I start, then I turn it to CMYK. So I can always go back to the RGB because I have that as a file. I have the CMYK. Then when I have my final, so I'll have 4 copies of the same file in each different step, because you just never know when you have to go back to something. Even if you have to go back to step 1, at least you have it. And I got into that habit for, naming conventions, making sure that you know the name of the file. And this way here, if I have to go back and I made a big mistake in the CMYK for printing, I could always go back to the RGB, make the fix, and go there. So I don't lose the whole day of work, maybe just lose a few hours. But that's the whole redundancy, always making copies. And as it gets to the point that even though we all have these external hard drives, you have to go back and make copies of old stuff. I mean, just because I did digital archives at Marvel, we learned that even the CD-ROMs that we have are not a good solution, because after a few years, the CD-ROMs themselves start to degrade. Any CD-ROM that has like the blue or purple or greenish tint to it are all degrading now. The gold and silver ones are the only ones that are kind of good, but they'll start degrading in a few years. So everything that we've backed up, we technically should be going back to back up again, because all those CD-ROMs, all those discs are going to start deteriorating. Yeah, I'm trying to find places to store this at, even though I have, these huge hard drives. It's like I'm running out of space. Mainly because everything's been doubled and tripled saved. Um, and then you have those things with like the cloud, which aren't legal. So those, I find it scary to be storing my stuff off-site.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
I lost, but see, you got to store stuff off-site. I mean, you have to, that's necessity, because
Yeah.
so like 6-7 years ago, I had a house fire, and I lost all sorts of original artwork, and I lost all sorts of like my computer just we saved the main hard drive, but the external hard drive just died.
Right.
Like, I mean, I lost some traditional stuff. I saved almost all of the stuff that I had digital, but I mean, it was close. I could have lost everything that I'd had.
Right.
That's a very real possibility. So I mean, if something happens to the site that you're on, having it, you got to have a backup somewhere offsite, because the site itself might not be protected.
Right, that's true. Because I remember a buddy of mine said, "Oh, all I got to do is grab my hard drive and run." And it's like, well, that's great. What if you're not home?
Yeah.
So that's the thing. It's weird living in an age where everything's all digital, and it's like there's again, since nothing's set in stone, what is actually kept. So yeah, the off-site that you do, so you do it with a different company, a company altogether.
I actually just keep stuff that I need on Google, or stuff that can't possibly lose on Google Drive.
Oh, okay.
Which isn't, I mean, it's not the most secure thing that I could do, but you got to pick and choose your fights, and I can't afford a really good security solution right now.
Right.
And I am actually really bad for. I've got an external hard drive. It's almost dead. I need to get the stuff off of it onto a new one, and then I will probably take the external hard drive someplace else.
Right.
But I mean, even that's for every day I'm putting that off. I mean, it's a minuscule risk, but it's still risky.
Yeah.
Back when when I first had my computer, I set up my Yahoo email as one of the first things I did online, and anything I wanted to keep, I emailed to myself. Because I'd lose passwords and sites and everything, photos. So I just email a lot of stuff to me. So let me ask, Gary.
yeah.
So you're working for Jamie. Do you have plans of one day doing your own books, or?
Well, I started actually a couple years ago. I started my own web comic. Morgana of the Borgs is what it was called, and it's not dead. It's just hibernating because it was a labor of love, not money. So paying projects kind of kicked that to the curb for a little bit, especially when Jamie came along and he was like, "Hey, let's do this." I'm like, "Cool, let's do it." But yes, I've got probably a good swatch of storyline written for that. It's if you wanted to look at what's there, you can go for easy typing Lister Art hyphen MOTB B as in boy.com. Actually, I'm gonna pull it up too. But yeah, I've got all kinds of stories in my head that I want to do and like to get back to at some point once everybody's projects are dealt with. There.
Yeah, well, I definitely understand paying work over
Yeah, I
one's
love doing it,
own.
and it kills me when I go back and look at it that I am not working on it right now because I want to get right back into it. And of course, this is going to sit here and spin. Oh, there it goes.
Well, part of what I'm doing currently is called 100 Days of Making Comics, and some people call it a challenge, but it's essentially putting in 30 minutes each day on your own personal project.
Yeah. And that's honestly what I need to do.
And yeah, because I know a ton of people that have, and they started their own books, and they show me pages, and it's like, here, check this out, and yeah, it's sitting on my shelf.
I figure
everybody needs to make money and can't afford to give it full time or even work on it half their schedule. But if you could put in 30 minutes, you could make at least a dent on it each day, and once that becomes habit, which is kind of how this whole thing is set up, then you'll eventually get a book done, and you'll eventually have to put it in your store and move forward with it.
Yeah, it's tough. There's a little. I set up Morgana of the Borgs as kind of schooling for myself, if you will. I put into the story. I had a frame for the story I wanted to tell, and it's not an original story by any stretch of the imagination, but it was what are the things that I feel that I am bad at drawing, and let's put all of those elements into this. So I have to get better at these things.
That's a great idea.
So it was. I felt like the chicks that I were drawing were, way too manly looking. They're not girly enough. They're not feminine. And then the sci-fi tech stuff that I was drawing was way too not believable. Maybe way too 60s Kirby, which is cool, but not. I need more help there. So I took all these elements.
Yeah.
I felt I was really lacking expertise in drawing, and just put them into this story. How can I put these things in here? And so that was the whole premise for me starting up this webcomic. And so there I've got car chases because I feel like I'm not very good at cars, and I've got sci-fi tech and the cities, because I'm in the Midwest. I'm not in, I don't have hands-on New York City right in front of me where I can go get some references real quick. You're kind of, you've got Google and Google Images, but what you're really after, or that you see in your mind, you might spend hours trying to find imagery versus being able to go look for something that's just in your neighborhood kind of thing, or in your city. So that was the whole point of in the beginning, and then it got to where writing the story and doing the art and wearing all the hats, doing the coloring, the inking, the lettering, building the website, making sure it's functioning, that in with the full-time job and the freelance so you can pay your bills. And yeah, they need to start. Somebody needs to figure out how to make a 36-hour day. Is what I feel.
Well,
It sounds like
let's
to me
see.
that you're going to sleep at night. There's your problem.
Yeah.
Oh, how dare you!
Evolve against sleep.
My dad had a medical thing once, and he needed to get steroid treatments every month, and those basically shot him up so full of energy that he didn't sleep for 3 days a month. I was like, no, seriously, you gotta hook me up, man. Hook me up with that so that I can forego all this stupid sleeping stuff and get stuff done. It's like, you really don't want it. I'm like, I don't think you realize I really do.
I've been addicted to caffeine since I was in the 6th grade.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Even right now, this is my 3rd cup of the day, just in the morning. So, what do you do?
I'm not even sure I could function without caffeine.
I can't at all. In school, I actually got in trouble for pretty much. I didn't bring coffee to school one day, and I basically fell asleep in every class that I had. It was not fun. I gotta actually probably go because I've got plans later, but it's been great talking to you guys again.
Oh yeah, definitely great talking to you too.
Oh,
Yeah, see ya.
Yeah.
thank you for coming.
Have a good day.
Have a good day. I'll probably watch the rest of this later on. So I'll be here just later in the future when everyone's left. So farewell.
See ya.
Take care.
Take care.
Take care. So I was going to mention, Colleen Duran, she's most known for Distant Soil. She's done stuff for Marvel DC. She's working on a Neil Gaiman book. She posted this. CCS offers the Applied Cartooning Manifesto at SPX, which was posted on Comics Beat. It's about trying to make a living and having time, and she got into it with Eric Orchard, who's like, yeah, I wish I made a living as a cartoonist. He mostly sells art, which is somehow easier. I mean, putting together a comic is like doing 1,000 paintings. And
Absolutely.
It's a lot more time-consuming and pays zip-de-doo if you look at, just like per page of art that you're putting together that you spend hours on.
Yeah, why are we doing this?
It's the whole Rorschach thing. We don't do it for any reason. We're just compelled.
Yeah.
We do it because we have to, because we'd be doing it anyway.
Yeah, that's precisely it. We would be doing it anyway.
I mean, somebody on the webcomics group that I'm on Facebook posted up a thing. It's like, so how much money can you expect to make doing webcomics? And there's a lot of people saying that they make this much, and one guy is saying that he pays his rent with his ads, and his original art is his fun money and that sort of thing. And I started crunching numbers, like, okay, over the years I have lost a couple $1,000.
Try publishing.
There's a couple $1,000 that I am probably never going to get back because I put it towards the comic.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I also quoted that line from nerd rapper Adam Warrock. If I was in it for the money, I would be a fucking lawyer. Just the stuff we love.
You know, that's like that quote, do what you love and you never work a day of your life. It's like, I'm tired. I've been working a long time. I understand. I do love it, you know, but it's that, you know, maybe it's that love that you shouldn't be in, that abusive love. But, you know, again, it's like, yeah, I could be doing so many other things that would be making more money, but, you know, it is that love, is that, you know, this is what I want to do. Also, I don't know anything else. Uh, when your first job out of college is working for Marvel, you kind of get used to a certain kind of thing. You know, going to conventions. It is so hard to explain to somebody. You know, it's like, oh, you know, we got to go to conventions. We pay for the table, and you know, we have to have books there. It's like, oh, so how much do you make back? And it's like, well, nothing yet, and it doesn't make sense to you, but it makes perfectly good sense to us. You know, because for every book that's out there, you know, one of them might be the next Ninja Turtles or what have you. You know, that's in the back of your head, but at the same time, being a realist, and it's like, I'm just happy to get my book out there. You know, it's kind of cool to be, you know, it's great working with other people's toys, and love the time that I spent at Marvel. But at the end of the day, you know, I got to work on Spider-Man. I don't get to keep any of that. You
Right.
know, so it's like if there's a chance to be able to get something from that, I think it's one of those things that drives you.
Yeah. You know, I said in one of my videos, like, uh, you know, I've been working 23 years now in the industry, and I've been successful. I was definitely successful like 7, 8 years out of the 23. I mean, successful where I was getting regular work and I was making pretty much a weekly paycheck. You know, there's also maybe another 5 years where I was doing good. But the rest was like, yeah, struggling. You know, I had a day job, um, just getting by, looking for work. Years of that. Um, and you know, in many ways, I wouldn't change it because I'm crazy.
It is something you got to do for the love first and foremost.
Definitely what I'm doing. Yeah. You know, I'm hopefully smarter now. You know, I'm still not where I need to be, but I know more on how to get there. And there's, you know, more avenues that make it easier on getting there now. So,
Me, I'm trying to learn to be more aware of what's going on, almost in the sense of you can easily, especially during those years when you're getting a ton of work and a ton of calls, that you almost think, oh, okay, cool, I don't have to go hunting anymore. They'll come to me, and that just becomes the worst mistake because all of a sudden you just don't get the calls, and then when you finally run into some of the editors, you get that, oh yeah, I would have hired you on this, but I thought you were busy. It's like, no, not at all. Did I come off as being busy? You know,
Yeah.
that's the thing. It's like you run into that. I don't know how I did it. I made a lot of people think I'm busy, and maybe it's social network when it's like, oh, I'm going to be working on 5 or 6 pages today. And when it's like, yeah, those 5 or 6 pages got done in 10 minutes because all I had to do was corrections. I mean, I didn't list that that's what I was doing, you know, that I was just doing corrections. They just thought I was busy. So it's that catch-22 where it's like, you got to seem busy.
Yeah, I think sometimes the social media bit where you're, you know, like I tweet, hey, working on artwork today, I'll put out a little screen capture for, you know, kind of thing. I wonder if sometimes that is counterproductive because people do think you are, oh, he's got a ton of work. He's got everything. I'm not going to ask him, you know, if he would like to work with this, or work on, maybe help me out with this, or hire him to do that. Where it seems like we are much busier thanks to social media than we actually are, kind of thing. I kind of wonder about that sometimes.
Yeah, I do too, and I'm not too sure, because sometimes, you go on Twitter and it's like, I have nothing really to say. I'll talk about what I'm working on, and it's like, oh, I want to kind of sound busy. Let me just say 3 pages when it's really 2 or something like that. But it's like, I don't know. And then I wonder, is anyone reading my tweets anyway? Because,
right.
That's the other thing too. It's like maybe it's one of those tweets that went out and no one looked at.
I think the biggest thing is if you're in the market, you just got to keep selling yourself. I mean, that's It's easy to think that the gravy train is going to keep on rolling, but you just got to keep putting yourself out there and keep letting people know that, hey, I can still take on work, please.
Exactly. It's like, I may seem busy, but when I say I'm working on a book today, I'm lettering. That means that book's going to be done by the end of the day. I could use another book.
Yeah, because you always got to think, I need to fill up next month or next week or.
Well, the next day. I mean, again, it depends on what you're doing. Lettering for me, a 22-page book could be done in 2 days, compared to like coloring. That's going to take a whole lot longer. So, is that okay? I know these books are going to be done by this date. I got to start shopping for more books, but at the same time, I got to make sure I'm still finishing this off, and it's that juggling act. That it's like, when you're going to be over soon, how much time you're going to have between the next project, and it's like you got to start shopping when you're almost halfway done with the last project.
Yeah, the great thing about working on your own creator-owned projects is that you can always be busy.
Oh yeah.
That is true.
The thing you got to do though is get those paying gigs.
Well, but to me, the downside to that is like, oh, if I'm working on my own stuff, that means I'm not working on any paid work. So that means I have nothing coming in, and I got to worry about my rent's coming up soon. So now you get that paralyzed of fears. Like, if I'm working on my own stuff, that means I'm not working on paid stuff. Then I start feeling guilty that I don't have enough paid stuff. It's like, and the worst thing to feel is guilty working on your own project.
That might be a little bit of why I kind of, my webcomic has kind of fallen to the wayside, because I do feel that guilt. I feel like that I'm if I'm working on my stuff, I'm playing.
Yeah.
Because like you're not maybe consciously you're working for a better to level up, to get to a better spot, but you feel like you're playing versus you're making money, or you're working on a job, quote unquote, kind of thing. So it kind of falls to the wayside. I totally feel that guilt sometimes when it's knee deep in your own stuff versus someone else's.
Yeah, and that's one thing that we got to get it out of our mind, because all of a sudden you decide, oh, I can't work on my own pages, so let me go looking for work, and you spend the next 3 or 4 hours sending out emails, doing what you have to do, and you realize, why can't I get my project done? And again, it's like you gotta remove that guilt and go that you are working on a paid product, that you will get paid later for it, but you need to get it done. And I know we all just want to be making our money doing our own product, just sitting there, and it's like being able to get up and just work on my own pages without having, and again, this is looking towards the future, hoping that, I get this book done, there's a payday at the end, and it's my book. So whatever I do with it, it's mine. I could do stuff. I can get it out. And I understand what you mean about doing the webcomic, because I do a webcomic as well. And that's the first thing that gets hit the moment paid work gets in, that it's like I have to, and so I have to get my mindset to know that if we're going to update the web strip every once a week from, when you put it together, oh, that's just 4 web strips. That should be easy to do. That should be something I should be able to do over the weekend. But what happens is, oh, I'm doing the paid work. I can't do my stuff, and then you fall into that cycle. So I I think when I do my 100-day challenge type thing, it's going to either be concentrating on one of the comic books or the web comic, and I think I'm able to figure out where I can steal that half hour, and it's early in the morning, when I get up before I really do anything else, just start the day with my own thing, and then move on to the paid work and what have you.
That's pretty much how I do it. I've got a full-time job because I can't seem to scrounge out the work to do freelance on any sort of basis. But the first thing I do is I've got my alarm set ridiculously early. I get up out of bed when it wakes me, and I do comics for the first 2-3 hours of the day, and then I'm more motivated because I know I'm on a time limit. I know I don't have time to noodle with it forever. So I'm focused. I don't have distractions because nobody's calling me at 5 in the morning.
Right.
And then, doing that gets it out of the way. And in my experience, you've got that time limit, so you can actually get a lot done before you have to move on to real world concerns. Stuff that I'm doing for the paycheck or.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's a mindset, and it's so hard sometimes just to give your personal work that value that it needs and that it deserves. It's just as deserving to be worked on as the paying gig that comes in. So
Yeah,
it's definitely something I know that I struggle with who gets priority, what gets priority, and why. It's the big picture answers or the down the road answers that are usually overlooked. It's the short term. Oh, this I need to work on this versus that. The short term thinking usually, unfortunately, kind of takes over and not thinking about down the road why you're actually doing this and what's going to come of it once you complete that project that's yours.
Right.
Um, we won't be going that much longer, but one of the ways I hope to end that guilty feeling is by, I set up a Patreon account, and I hope to build that up, although I haven't had huge success. I mean, I could say I had no success outside of friends. um, but, I must have changed it 3 times. I'm going to change it again because it's in many ways it's like setting up a Kickstarter or Indiegogo. You have rewards, but it's also more complicated, and it's like a monthly subscription kind of. I do everything I do for free. I do want to have exclusives for it, or at least post earlier there than anywhere else. So it's additional work, and it's not like people are putting out $30. Everybody's putting out $1 or small amount. But I do believe in its potential, and a lot of it is I'm juggling too much stuff, and I'm trying to sync everything up. And the main focus of what I do is going to be my webcomics. And, I just posted one strip, and it's been a while since I posted anything. So I really got to get that like on a weekly basis for me to be doing any damage on anything. I've been posting a lot of YouTube videos, and part of that is the 100-day challenge. and I've been doing these hangouts weekly. Although my podcast took a hit, and I haven't done that in a little while. My blog is always erratic. If anything, I post online more, like on Facebook and G Plus and Twitter. But that's like, yeah, here's a video, here's a piece of artwork, here's, it's not really as elaborate as I would like it to be. But, John's also got a Patreon going, and probably has
And for
some
and for
sort.
those of you listening, if you want me to tell you that you're awesome, go support that one.
That's right.
See, I brought that back.
Yeah, circle back around. I see what you did there.
Continuity.
You want to screen share your Patreon?
Yeah,
You might make $1 today.
that is. I could make $1 today. Let me actually load the
That's
thing up
right.
here.
So I don't know if there's somebody posted Juna Salo. If you're listening, you commented in no chat. I posted the event page link. If you type into that, that's like a chat. Yeah, I don't know how to do the chat on YouTube kind of thing. Figure out. So Samurai guy.
Yep, Zombarai.
Samurai. Hef zombie. Hef samurai.
I'm not a zombie samurai, but I play one on the internet. I gotta update this thing.
Yeah, that's I keep feeling like everything I did before. Nah, I got to trash that and redo it. The good thing is that everybody who's a patron isn't necessarily taking my higher levels, so I might rework a lot of my rewards and all the stuff I have in the left column, which is milestones. I've made like my milestones, which is kind of what if you're my patron, you'll be rewarded if I get for making videos, blah blah blah. But I've seen a lot of other Patreon pages, and it's like specifically for the patrons. Like, if I reach this level, then you get a printed copy of Diaper Man or whatever.
Yeah, that's actually something to consider when I take the hatchet to the Patreon page and make it better.
Yeah, and I also noticed that a lot of people who have Patreon pages keep freaking updating it. So I
That's
don't feel 100% bad. I don't know. Here, let's see. Because I've been sketching. Well, I do hangouts.
that is kind of awesome, actually. I always like doing phone doodles, and I consider the hangout pretty much a phone conversation. I can't do real work because then that will involve thinking as well as trying to see who's commenting on other pages and keeping everything running. But So now, do you have any parts of your process that are basically automatic to you, like you can do it without thinking? Because I've got a couple spots in my process that I can kind of just.
well, it should be inking, although I do like the focus.
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I could like, I can imagine myself doing a hangout, being the host, doing everything I need to do, and maybe thumbnailing or character design or stuff like that, where it's not like everything doesn't have to be pretty, it just has to be functional. So that kind of stuff I can imagine doing.
Yeah, because like I
Right,
could.
Wilson?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's coloring. That's why I do the coloring. But the other thing too is like
There
I'm
you
working on so many projects, and there are things that I can't show. Um, where this is my own thing. This is a page from Team Kaiju issue number 2, which should have been done so many, yeah, say years ago. That it's like I don't mind
go.
showing this because I could always go back and change some stuff because it's the coloring and it's digital. Lettering is the same way too, where to me lettering is not to say it's mindless, but a lot of that it is copy and pasting and then sitting there and positioning with it. But unfortunately, the stuff that I have for lettering, I can't show yet because those are not my projects. So being that a lot of the stuff, and you know how it is, we're working a few months, or ideally we're working a few months ahead of when the book is going to be published, and this goes right up on the net right away. I wouldn't be able to share anything that I'm working on. So with this I like doing. I like doing the coloring. It kind of, and I could do sketching as well, uh, with an audience because we talked about that earlier, doing those at cons. But I find that this
Right.
is a little more fun because, I stole a little bit of time to work on my home project, and I don't feel guilty about it. So I think that's the good part.
Right. So, are you considering joining the 100 Days of Making Comics?
Uh, I, I always consider joining a lot of things. Too. I've been thinking about it. I have to watch a few of them because I think I maybe watched 2, and it was like, okay, those are interesting. And I know everyone does their own little thing. I need to decide
Yeah.
also which project do I want to do that for.
Right.
Ideally, it should be Team Kaiju, but I also have a children's book kitty book that I was thinking of doing it for as well. I really just haven't decided which one to do it for. Plus, I'm trying to see if, like I said, the time that I could steal to do that has been the mornings. So I need to test it. I need to see if I can get up early enough, stay awake, and be able to record what I'm doing. But I'm thinking
Right.
about it. I definitely am thinking about it.
Right. Cool. Um, well, of course, it's like 100 days of making comics could also be 100 days of anything. So it could
Yeah.
be working on a children's book or doing animation or making an album or building a skyscraper if you want. Um,
There's permits for that. That's a lot of paperwork. Because, that's the one thing keeping me from making skyscrapers. The paperwork.
Otherwise, there'd be skyscrapers everywhere.
Paperwork is killer.
Just be making them everywhere. Buildings on top of buildings.
That was amazing.
Yeah, I always wanted to build Atlantis, but I just never
There's all the
started.
permits
Um,
and building zones.
Yeah, I was gonna do it, build it underwater and then see if it floats. Or something.
Building it all out of foam.
No, rather than building it on land and then eventually winding up in the bottom of the ocean, I'll build it in the ocean.
and wait for it to come up.
Yeah. But all right. Well, I know we can go on for much longer, but I got the other one coming up, and I can do a couple of other things. But I think this was a really good conversation, and lots of things we can carry forth with.
Yeah, sounds
For
great.
sure.
Yeah, I have to get going myself because I got my podcast to record.
There you go.
For the
Do
Section
your
8 guys.
podcast.
Yes, it's called At the 8 Spot Podcast. You can find us on iTunes, or you just go to our website, the8spot.com, and you can find all our links to everything that we do. Our comic books, our web comics, our buildings once we get the zones and coding done for that. Don't forget our Indiegogo campaign and, New York Comic Con. We're at booth 2339. It's a corner booth this year, so have a lot more space, and it should be fun. I'm really looking forward to this show.
Well, definitely good luck with New York Comic Con. I don't think I'm going to be making it. Tell everybody I said hey.
I will.
And good luck with your Indiegogo. I know any money that you get is an improvement, but I hope you get your goal. Definitely sharing it around.
And I thank you for that, and I thank everyone who has contributed and shared, because the more people know, the better. And like I said, this book will be published no matter what. The money just helps us do it quicker, but it's one of those projects that I'm really proud of, and I can't wait for everyone to get to see the final product.
Right. Cool, man. All right, and John, thanks again for coming, man. You're like my co-pilot. You're almost always here.
I always try to be. It's a lot of fun, and I love meeting the people, and I love hanging out with the people, and the sort of, like I said before, this sort of thing keeps me very, very focused, because if I'm slacking off, everybody gets to see that. The internet gets to see me slacking off, and that's embarrassing.
Yeah. So everybody go check out Everyday Abnormal.
Yeah, that's everydayabnormal.thecomicseries.com. You can just type Everyday Abnormal into Google. I am the first result that comes back. We're starting a new storyline on October 6th, and it is going to be intense and hopefully a lot of fun for a certain value of fun. It's going to be fun in the same way that Goodfellas was fun. It's like, that was a great movie. I'm not sure I want to do that again for a little while, but
Right. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to it. Yeah, it's going to be bloody, right?
it's going to be almost horror movie bloody in spots, and it's going to be very intense, and it's going to kind of, for anybody who's listening to this who's read it before, it's going to kind of change things around for one of the major characters. Like, you're not going to be able to see him in the same light. It's going to be very, very intense. I'm having a lot of fun working on it so far. So.
Awesome. So visit the comic and visit the Patreon page.
Yes. More than anything, visit the comic because I love getting your feedback.
Right. And we have Gary. Gary, thank you so much for coming. It was last time you were on. You're doing amazing work. I don't know how you're drawing during the hangout.
I just keep going. I got my ears on you guys and got my hand rolling, so I just keep on doing what I do. And I'll definitely be back for more of these. This was fun. It's kind of gets me out of that seclusion, if you will. So very cool.
Awesome. Well, pleasure having you on. And is it yourname.com? Is that your website?
Yeah, listerart.com.
Yeah, okay.
That'll get you there. And then the web comic, which now I feel like I have to go work on it today, is listerart-motb.com for Morgana of the Borgs.
All right.
And hopefully I can get back to tinkering on that some more.
Awesome. I hope you do, man. You know, we all need to work on our own projects because, you know, that will bring us more money than client work or corporate work or anything else in the long run.
Very true.
That's
Very
fine.
true.
All right, so closing out Studio Synergy 11, we got Artcasters this afternoon at 3 o'clock for anybody who wants to join that. I'll probably post links tomorrow unless I get to it sooner. But yeah, please share, friends. I want to get more eyes on the Studio Synergy series. Artcasters is doing twice the views, so it's because we have a Facebook group behind it. But thank you all for coming, and it will be again sometime next weekend for Studio Synergy 12. And I am Peter Palmiotti. You can find me everywhere and buy my stuff. Okay, bye.
Sounds good.